Today I'm going to explain you why older generations aren't interested in such a thing as cryptocurrencies. And I'm just going to briefly go over why, in my opinion, Bitcoin fell down to 60k today. So, first of all, we need to understand what a cryptocurrency is, or better, why are there cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin? And in order to understand this, we need to understand how money works. And we have to look back into the time when people used to trade goods and services before money existed. So, if you're familiar with history, you have probably heard that people used to trade goods and services for someone other's goods and services. So for example, if I wanted to sell 10 pieces of bread for 5 melons, let's say, and then that other person did not want the bread, let's say they wanted like something else, potatoes for example, okay? So if I didn't have the potatoes, I had to then trade my bread with somebody else who has potatoes. So then I could take these potatoes and sell them to this person so he can give me melons. And you can kind of start getting this image of how this started to get confusing by the time, right? And then people invented like precious metals, okay? Gold, silver, stuff like this, And then you have, let's say, somebody who wants to sell melons for 5 silver coins. So with these 5 silver coins, so if you gave them to that person who wanted to sell you melons, they could do anything with those 5 silver coins as long as they fulfill the other parties. Okay. And today we have this in form of like countries' currencies, like euro, dollar, New Zealand dollar, yen. And this was due to like this was due to not being able to just carry gold bricks around. Because imagine how much does one brick weigh for the gold? It's probably a lot, and it probably wouldn't be this nice carrying it around. So people invented this in form of coins, dollars. And the way it works is the gold is reserved in a reserve called a bank today, okay? And when they give you a note, a dollar, $5, this is just a note saying that, okay, if I give this note to the bank, let's say 10 euros, this means that bank owes you 10 euros worth of gold, okay? And you might be thinking, well, what is wrong with that? Okay, we had the issue at trading goods and services for other goods and services, okay? But every system just gets more complex. In form of currencies, we had to invent all those indicators, which I am not going to cover in detail. For example, interest rate, we have inflation rate and stuff like this. Those indicators that represent the status of money and how much the money is worth in each currency. And with such a complex system, banks decided to keep people's money, and as they're only required to keep 2% of them, they could do whatever they want with this money. And all the transactions that you see are centralized, they are written in the bank. So how can you trust a bank, an institution, which is basically like trusting like any friend, any person on the street you meet? But the main difference here is that banking is just like signed as an institution on the paper, right? And now how do we trust this? Well, we trust banks through historical evidence. So if they had been doing this job or providing this service for the nation throughout all those years in the past, how can we not trust it today, in the present day? Okay? But the thing is here that what I think is that more and more people are going to start to get aware of the trust worth. Okay, so the trust you give to the bank. And more you start to realize that all your money in the bank is that just it's just a signed trust. Okay? It's a note, basically banks saying, I owe you this much money. And the more people are going to realize this, that this is just a trust scheme, they are going to move onto different assets. And this is the way, at least in my opinion, how people move to evaluating a different asset class over time, okay? So first of all, if we go back to melons and bread, people started to realize the cons of trading, exchanging goods and services. And when they realized that, they moved on to different asset class because it would solve those problems that they were having. And same as today, people want a easier system, okay? So people should look to solve what problems we have with money today. And one way is through cryptocurrencies. And if we just go over one major difference in cryptocurrencies from a bank, is that cryptocurrencies are decentralized assets, most of them. They are not fully decentralized, okay? They're still partially owned by someone. But in form of transactions, you can actually verify it. So verifiability is much, much greater than the one you use at the banking system. Because bank can print you a receipt for a transaction. But how do you know that what they printed in this receipt is true? Okay, you don't, because you do not have an insight of this transaction system. But in cryptocurrencies, you have something called blockchain, and blockchain is like a sheet of all transactions, and you can just Google any like transaction list of cryptocurrencies, and you will see each transaction stacked one by one. And if crypto is such a great in verifiability and legitimacy, then why aren't older generations supporting it? Why aren't they being supportive towards it? And I think the main reason here is just historical confluences, so how somebody had lived throughout the years, what they experienced, and what they were convinced to believe. So if, for example, your grandmother or grandparents believed that currencies such as dollar, euro, and stuff like that were a great asset to use in the markets, then they are going to less likely be believing into cryptocurrencies, because people also do not have this instinct of wanting to just jump on from an old thing they used for 50 years to a new technology driven currencies made purely by the computer, right? So like, in order for Bitcoin to rise, you of course need some sort of interest. Okay, interest. So imagine interest as a demand. The more people want it, the bigger price is going to get. And if more people want it, and it is like the demand is overtaking the supply, which means that the asset is becoming rare. It's like basically diamonds, right? They are a rare type of, like, what do you call this? An earth thing, right? The minerals. It is going to become a rare asset, and this is the reason why its price is going to get higher. Because the more rare it is, the bigger value it gets, right? It's not easy to find diamond, right? Compared to all the stones you get on the road. But the problem is that majority of today's nations and societies still do not believe in crypto, or let's say it like this: they still believe that dollar and euro and countries' currencies correlations are still like a good thing, right? Which they probably are, because every asset class has its pros and cons. As dollar has its own pros and cons, so does Bitcoin, right? And the problem is that most people today on earth aren't like used to dealing with crypto exchanges, because they just grew up in a different situations, in different environments. But I think with generations to come, people are going to be more and more interested in cryptocurrencies as it is getting more talked about, and it is convincing people that it is a good asset class just by telling them how does it make a world of transactions, a monetary world, better than like currencies, just the usual currencies. But like still, there's a fear, right, that everything that comes must come to an end, right? Which means that crypto is probably not going to go on forever. Okay, it's probably not going to be there for hundreds of years, because there are probably going to be more new things to come that are going to be more valuated, because they are going to be more like looked into, right? People are going to be seeking those things more than anything else. And as I said before, the bigger the demand, the bigger the value is because of its rarity. Okay? And this was just a small picture, a small frame I wanted to put in your brain in this video. So you can kind of get the feeling of why we have different asset classes today, you know? And this doesn't even cover like 1% of all the knowledge there is about Bitcoin. You don't need to trust me. I do not know anything. I mean, I do something, but I probably do not know everything about cryptocurrencies. And I probably won't ever know 100% about Bitcoin and stuff like that. And this is why you need to do your own research. This is why I am still researching throughout those stuff, right? And I may said some things wrong in this video, but I'm still improving. I will come back later on with a better ideas, a bigger reality check. And if you just stay on this path with me, then I will try to help you also grow as somebody who is just getting into crypto. So this will be it for this video. Hope you learned something new.